Shall we start?
Yes, ma'am. So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this research training program conducted by Ramaiah Medical College, Division of Research and Patents for manuscript writing. It's a very important topic, and we are reiterating this publication as an academic requirement is one component, but it goes beyond it. So in today's workshop over the next 2.5 hours, we are going to look at different components of publications, how to prepare it, what are the publication matrices, how to check for plagiarism and prevent or avoid it, and also in terms of ensuring not just the quantity but also the quality of publications, which can help the individual as well as the institution in scoring good ratings and rankings in multiple agencies. So without much ado, I request Dr. Shalini Nui ma'am to give the initial remarks and start the proceedings. Please, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Nandakumar. I'm so happy that about 32 people have logged in. It's wonderful that we are sticking to the schedule that has been prepared, the calendar of events, and I'm really happy that Division of Research and Patents is going ahead on time with all the programs. Just for a few initial remarks, can you please share the first slide, Dr. Nandakumar?
Yeah. Is the screen visible, ma'am?
No. Can anybody else see it?
One second. It is rendering it, ma'am.
Okay. The previous picture I wanted to show. Anyway, it's all right. It's okay. So I just wanted to know if anybody knows or anybody is familiar with who this person is. Would anyone like to talk about this person? Any guesses? This youngster is a person called Michael Faraday. You might have heard of Faraday, isn't it? And then he was, being a youngster, he grew up in poverty actually. And with some luck, he got into Sir Humphrey Davy's chemistry class. And then he absorbed everything about chemistry. And he grew up to be the famous chemist, physicist, and the person who is described as the father of electricity. Next, please. And he grew up to be this person. Okay, this is Michael Faraday, and we know him now as someone who has played such an important role in electricity, and he was the one who published a lot of his work, and that's the reason why we know about electricity. We know, how it is generated and how we can upgrade ourselves with regard to one topic in the field of science. Next, please. Yeah, so this is what he says. He said, work, finish your work, and then publish it. So he says, if you start to work, but you don't finish it, why do you start it in the first place? And secondly, he says, if you finish the work, but you don't publish it, then why do you finish it? So I just want to say it is so important to do the work, yes. But then if you don't publish, you won't be helping mankind at all. What is the need to do such work at all? Okay, so just to say, how important it is for an investigator. He wants to, give evidence that he has done a good clinical study. And for the reader or the receiver of people who read such publications for them, it enhances their knowledge about medical science, and it enhances their way of how they deal with patients with medical science. And the latest, what shall I say, example or proof of this is the COVID itself. it may change the existing medical practice, whatever you read or whatever people publish and then you read it. It changes the way people practice medicine. And sometimes it may be a difference between life and death, isn't it? So these were some, important discoveries, which if they were not published, like for example, knowledge about microorganisms, about antibiotics, about even how diabetes is caused, about insulin, all these are such important uh, scientific work, which if they were not published would not have benefited mankind at all. So this is one aspect of publication. Of course, the second aspect is that it is now necessary to publish if you want to excel in your careers, if you want to progress in your careers. It is necessary, and very often even promotions are based on good publications. So with this, again, I would like to reiterate that we are really glad that now it is 48 people have logged in. Please, utilize this opportunity and make use of it so that you come up with good publications. It will benefit both you as well as the institution. Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am.
Thank you. All the best.
Thanks for that. And probably in the coming years, like we had set the target, not just the quantity, but also the quality of publications.
Yes.
From the Division of Research and Patents, we assure support for all the faculty and students on the campus. The management has been kind enough to provide the technical inputs that are required and other inputs for ensuring good quality publications. So through this, we would like to reiterate that we'll be conducting not only training programs, but also in terms of choosing the right journal or where to publish is something which many of them would want support from. Statistical analysis, we have a good team, we can provide those inputs. So we would ensure that both, as I said, quality and quantity of publications will be enhanced in the coming years.
And secondly, the research awards are going to take all this into consideration. So in the next year, we'll be looking at the quality also of the publication. And so we are hoping that we'll get many more people getting the awards, that too in good quality journals.
Yes, thanks a lot, ma'am. Thank
you.
So moving next to the topic of preparing to publish. So probably I'll spend a few minutes on that, and we'll have individual sessions on different components of preparing for this publication. So, but initially, like we will see, like what are the research outputs? How do we measure them? What is the importance of publications, especially in academic institutions when it comes to both rating and ranking agencies that we are seeing? Because in research institutes of excellence, that is a separate thing. As madam told, like unless we publish it, the work is not complete. But in academic institution, it has additional layers, additional connotations. We will see a little bit about it. Then what are the sources from where we can initiate, start, or work towards publications? What are the guidelines from the International Journal of Medical Writers? They have a consortia and the guidelines are there, which by and large are the guiding principles, including our institution and globally across the world. Almost all the institutions of healthcare institutions and medical education institution and journals follow these guidelines. So it is what we have adopted. And first things first, what you need to have before you even embark on it, and a checklist for actually preparing and writing the publications. So when it comes to research outputs, so when we say somebody is involved in academic research or any form of research, the outputs are measured either in terms of the patents which the work brings. Patent is, I mean, most of these come under the broad category of intellectual property rights, where we attribute a particular outcome to an individual, team, group, or institution. So in that context, the tangential output of a research work will be measured either in terms of patents, publications, presentations in academic, scientific, and other forums, white papers or monographs that would be brought out, and the last but certainly not any less are the press, media, and popular media. Today, there are several blogs which have literally got iconic status when it comes to certain decision-making algorithms and other things. So in that context, even if there is a systematic approach at reaching out to larger populace, we can have any of these things. But today we are going to focus on publications and why, how, what of publications. So when you look at any of the ratings or rankings of institutions globally, we have the Times, the World University rankings, which are sort of the prestigious institutes, be it the Harvard, Stanfords, Oxfords of the world, are rated and ranked based on multiple criteria. So they will be having not just research as one of the component, but multiple criteria. Similarly, you have the QS IGOG or National Board of Accreditation in India, and more close to home, and what we are working now is for the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, the NAC accreditation, or the NIRF accreditation, which we have from academic institutions. So when we combine together, like when we look at the weightage that is accorded to research activities and research outputs in terms of publications, in terms of projects completed by the institution, patents and innovations, they come under the broad category. In NAC, it comes under criteria 3, which is research, consultancy and extension. So when we look at these components, almost 1/3 of the total marks that has been accorded for that entire rating or ranking is in the domain of research and related activities, of which publications take the major chunk. So in that context, the importance cannot be undermined. We certainly need to give sufficient focus, not just to the numbers alone, but most of the agencies are also insisting on the quality of such publications which are being counted. So whenever we are trying to say that there are X or Y number of publications in a given institution, now as we are going to see in subsequent presentations, it is the quality of those publications as measured by certain matrices, be it the citation index, impact factor, or the journal citation factor, the Q indices of the journal, H indices, are being given accorded importance. So when you look at where we get the data, or from where do we start the idea of publishing, when you look at that, the sources are multiple, but I have tried to restrict it to from an academic point of view, because unlike research only institutions where the entire activity is to undertake an innovation or generate a patent, R&D divisions or the IISCs and such and research institutions have a different mandate and also the routes. But in a higher education institution or a medical college, the usual sources of publications would be from the student projects. So it could be an STS project for ICMR funded projects for undergraduate medical students, or mandatory research which the university mandates for at postgraduate level. So they say that each student has to undertake a thesis or a dissertation work, which most of the times end in either a presentation or a publication. And of course, we have the master's program and the PhD programs from affiliated universities, where we can also generate publications and papers. The second major source is from that of funded or sponsored research. As most of us are aware, the university, there are several sources of funds. We saw in the grant and access to grant workshop earlier that it can be Indian Council of Medical Research, DST, DBT, the federal agencies within India, or globally we have international NGOs like the Gates Foundation or any of the Wellcome Trust and other international agencies who provide funds for undertaking translational research, action research, population-based research, public health impact research, which needs to culminate either in the form of a white paper or a publication. The third category is that of clinical trials. which sort of like depends on, because I'm not saying it in the broad sense, but many or most trials would want to have their work published with specific intent of reaching out to large number of people. Of course, there are several sort of like agreements and other things which would be required to be complied with. But one of the source of data, once the sponsor agrees and approves, is the clinical trial and the industry sponsored research, which can be published in open sources and other locations. Then we have a fairly common category of investigator driven research, where the faculty undertake these research activities so as to either fulfill the personal requirement to publish, or in terms of any research interest for them to undertake that particular activity. So that investigator driven research can be either from the available data, the routine clinical data that has been accumulated, and they want to get insights or gain insights. It can be a retrospective study, or they can say that we are going to look at surgical complications by using a new technique, or that kind of a thing can happen. And for that, they are going to sort of like do this prospective research. Then we have the secondary data analysis or review, especially in public health parlance. Whenever we are, Dr. Varsha Ramani, we are getting, could you please mute yourself, Madam Varsha Ramani? Okay. So in terms of secondary data in public health parlance, we have population-based databases which can be from open sources, and looking at trend analysis, or for COVID, we saw that like what is the moving average in terms of test positivities and what is happening in the states and the country. We could compare it with global statistics. So it can be secondary data analysis and review that can happen. And the top of the evidence pyramid is the systematic reviews and meta-analysis, where an expert in that domain who has published at least 10 to 15 papers can look at evidence from other multicentric studies, or multiple publications of RCTs which have been published, to synthesize it together to derive a common point estimate. So that is meta-analysis. So many a times as young researchers, we tend to think that taking 10 papers and very neatly trying to say what each of them have told and drawing a conclusion is meta-analysis or systematic review. It is not. That is a literature synthesis or review of literature, which can be an initial attempt at trying to put things together. But the definition, Cochrane definition for meta-analysis and systematic reviews are very clear. Please ensure that the tools and techniques that are used are appropriate for that. Then coming to this International Committee of Medical Journal Editors guidelines, why this component is important is probably we will share the entire PDF document from 2019. They have very clearly articulated issues pertaining to authorship, who should be an author, what are the qualities, or what should be the contribution of the author to be put as a first author, second author, or from multi-centric studies, how this authorship needs to be distributed. Because many a times the confusion or the bone of contention will be that of authorship. Next session, you'll be seeing the different criteria that has been adopted by the regulatory authorities insofar as promotions are concerned. First author, second author, corresponding, third author, indexed in this. So when we look at that, we tend to sort of like read too much into it and miss the essence of the authorship as defined and delineated by International Committee of Medical Journal editors, where very clearly they have given authorship is a privilege. Authorship is a privilege, provided the individual has made substantial contribution to the conception or design of the work, acquisition, analysis, and interpretation of data for that particular work. And the next criteria, all the four criteria, is joined with a Boolean operator, and it is not exclusive. It is not either. It is and drafting of the work or revising it critically for important intellectual content. Language editing and just cursory glancing for appropriateness does not entail authorship. Final approval of revision. Again, this refers to technical approval and not administrative or that kind of an approval. And lastly, all authors are accountable and responsible for the work that they are publishing. This is extremely important because many a times we tend to sort of like sign or put in our names because like we think that, look, we were part of the team and we have contributed. But when it comes to taking responsibility, because many a times nothing happens that is good. But in case if there is some kind of a query about the work, we should be confident to justify our presence and also say what the work was and take responsibility for the entire work. So if all the four are ticked, then the person can be an author. So what are the initial things that you need to sort of like understand insofar as trying to sort of like publish is ethical clearance from competent authorities. When I say it is either the Institutional Ethical Review Board or independent ethics review committees or ethical committee of the particular institution. Many people ask, sir, I'm just taking retrospective data. I'm just putting together a few things and no patient identity is revealed. Do we still need ethical clearance? Retrospective study, do we need ethical clearance? I had done this thing 10 years back. It is my own data. Do I need ethical clearance? The single statement is every work requires ethical clearance, because we were discussing this topic with Dr. Roli Mathur from ICMR, who made it very clear. It is not that like ethical clearance can be waived at some point, but that decision still has to be taken by the ethics review board. So in that context, without much confusion, whatever you're doing, please pass it through the scientific and ethics committee. Because when you're trying to publish in any good journal, they are going to ask for the ethical clearance certificate or ethical approval. So at that point of time, going back to the committee will cause problem both to the individual, because they have to bring in so many things, and if there are some suggestions given, they won't be able to incorporate it in whatever work that has been done. So this is extremely important. Please ensure that at the beginning of your study or before even you conceptualize and do it, please go in the proper SOP based activity of getting the clearances, informed consent and other things, and go about it. The second, again, very critical point is that of defining the roles and responsibilities of team members, specifically with regards to authorship, order and institutional affiliations. Many a times we would be okay if somebody puts the document together, but we would want my name to be at some place, and also I would want to be called or in that particular affiliation. This is applicable for people who have more than one affiliation. They would be working as X in a Y place or something like that. So you need to ensure that, look, you're going to be the second author and your designation and institution will be put in as this. Because in case they want to use the affiliation of another university or another role that they're playing, then you will be required to take the letter of association, approvals and other things a priori before you start that. So in that context, please ensure that these critical things are met with even before you put the checklist what is required for publications. So once all these things are clear, you need to ensure that are we ready to think about writing for publication. The first and foremost thing is your interim analysis results should be available. Because if you want to put down something, it is like in community medicine, when we teach, we say that HARK phenomena. We say that hypothesis after results are known, which means that we have analyzed, then we try to say, oh, we have got this result, so what should be the objective for this results? So that is not the approach, especially when you are writing for good journals. You need to begin with the end in mind and not work from in the reverse order. The second is like citation software. Probably we will have a separate training for this in terms of using of Zotero, in terms of using EndNote or any of the dime a dozen software that are available, because life becomes really easy if we have used this software. And if there is a rejection from one journal, if you have to send it to another journal, changing the format from Vancouver to Harvard, Harvard to Oxford or something else, it will become very easy if you have used a citation software. And also managing your literature sources becomes so easier. And being a non-native English speaking population, having Grammarly or any of those editing softwares, especially for language editing, becomes helpful, because today most of the journals, the good quality ones, are expecting the manuscript to be in a properly formatted, referenced manner. So 60 to 70% of rejections from good journal happens because the citation is not in the style that they have asked for, and very poorly written manuscripts in terms of English and editing part of it. That is totally non-technical. So it will get rejected. So ensure that these two things are put in place. Then you will be required to have the codal documents, which in the next session Chidambaram is going to talk about, in terms of like the clearance forms, the consent forms, the copyright and approval forms, and the various, some of them even ask for your raw data for publishing. So these things have to be very clearly mentioned insofar as the publication preparation that is concerned. So just to reiterate, ensure that whatever research output that you're planning to go in for a publication, begin with an end in mind, and please seek appropriate help at the right moment, because when you are even beginning to conceptualize the study, you need to ask for the sample size, you need to ask for the right methodology. Data collection should be appropriate and adequate for the variables that you intend to analyze and publish. So ensure that like you do a very systematic approach towards these things, and you tend to publish. So I'll stop here and request the next presenter, Dr. Chidambaram, to continue from this.
Sir, can you give me?
Yeah, I'm just transferring the this.
Thank you, sir, and good afternoon, all. So let me continue from where Dr. Nandakumar sir has left. So basically, you're told about before we go for a publication, what are the things that we need to take up as a policy. We need to take a clearance and take the information before even we choose a journal. What are the ethical and other issues we need to consider? So I'll just quickly talk a little bit about choosing a journal, both based on the governing body's perspective, that is Medical Council of India, and also now NMC, what are the guidelines, what they changed recently. And then probably we'll also talk about the other, how to make a journal. So wishing you all a happy Engineers Day. So I wish, I recently was reading the biography of Dr. Vishwesvaraya. I saw his contribution throughout the world. So if he had to fulfill all the norms, what we are doing today, probably wouldn't have done most of the work what he has done, because he was free to do a lot of good things without binding to many of the work for the sake of completion. So coming to the publication and this thing, the journal selection, initially we all know that the Medical Council of India had policy drafted in 2015 about the minimum requirement to be considered in the as a faculty as per MCA, and also for the promotion. They had the original article, and they had indicated certain indexing agencies, which should be Scopus, PubMed, Medline, and they had only few of the indexing agency, and initially they said they consider only original research article and research paper, and then they also had issue with the authorship. They told like only first author and corresponding author will be considered for the credit, and they clearly mentioned e-journals are not included. The only journals which have a hard copy are considered, and this was there for a couple of years, and then they slowly, based on the response from the stakeholders, mainly the medical colleges and faculty, they revised it constantly for 4 consecutive years with slight modification. They said number of publication varied at least 2 1, and then from original research article, they also included original research paper and systematic review, meta-analysis, case series, which was not there in the first draft. They were included, and then with respect to authorship, what was considered only for the first author, they made it as a equal contribution or equal points to second author. Then they also included corresponding author. And when it comes to indexing agency, initially they had only Scopus, PubMed, Medline, and then they added other scientific publishers like Embase and Index Medicus, Index Copernicus, and later, I mean, it also went on open access journal. Publication was also included, and this gave us a lot of. I mean, most of the faculty were confused, like what we need to really present, and it was also a big headache for all the administrators to categorize and say that according to revised criteria, what are the things that needs to be considered. So keeping this in mind, and the recent one, the February 2020, which is supposed to be implemented from next year, they also included a citation index. So they say that any journal index with citation index can be considered with first, second, or corresponding author. In a nutshell, these are the two major categories we are considering. The old regulation said it is a original research paper. So the main indexing agencies was Scopus, PubMed, Medline, and Index Medicus or Index Copernicus. These were considered for the previous thing, and now with the new NMC policy, they are considering original research articles, meta-analysis, case series, the case report, and systematic reviews. So these will be considered, which are all indexed in Medline, PubMed, citation index, science citation, and expanded Embase, Scopus, and open access journal also. Initially, they said they won't consider open access, and later they told Indian database of open access will also be considered. So this will be our primary focus before we with our academic ladder. We want to have this will be a back of mind, like, okay, I need to have a publication to fulfill my minimum criteria as per the MCR and MC. So keeping this in our mind, what we need to plan and do, just let us go to the process of selection of journal. Should I select the journal once I complete the work, and what is the right time to select the journal? And if at all, if I select the journal, what is the process? Quickly, I'll just go through the process. And we all know that this is, we are all very familiar now, the cycle of research. Our research start from ideating or just collecting the idea, identify the topic, then we conduct research, then we follow a lot of this publication and other things to think. And so most of the time we think that, okay, publication can be considered, the journal selection can be considered at the time of completion of the analysis, and before we submit a project, we can think of this is our routine process. But based on the experience of many people, what we need to do is we need to have a journal in mind before even conceptualizing and conducting a research. That gives you a good freedom to connect the data required for that particular journal. So I'll just go to the detail. So what our mentor used to tell is, like, even if you before initiating or starting the experiment, you need to have, okay, once I complete the analysis of the data, this is the journal I want to target. So that's for two reasons. One, you know what are the information you need to collect along with your major requirement for the hypothesis or meeting the objective. And it will also give what the extent of evidence you need to create, whether with the regular diagnostic or other parameter can we meet the quality of the journal, or should I do more analysis or more lab investigation or radio diagnostic investigation to meet the requirement of the journal. So, well, in advance, if you have that idea, so that will always help you. And please keep a journal or set of journals in mind before you even start your research process. And these are the four types of things. Let me quickly go through this. Suppose if you are going through a broad specialty or subject specialty wise, so you need to identify a good journal in your specialty. So now the Google Scholar or Google search can give a list of top journals in the specific. For example, if you take ophthalmology, it can give list of top 20 journals in the area of ophthalmology, and this list is based on the impact factor and more citation. So the journals with highest impact factor and citation will be in the top, and 20 to 30 it will pick up, and will also give you a list based on the publication wise, like Scopus journals. If you can also give a keyword saying that top 20 or 10 journals in ophthalmology in Scopus or Copernicus. You can give based on our requirement, and then once you select that, so you will need to identify a broad area. Each journal, again, within the subspecialty, they would focus more on certain issues. So you just identify that broad area, and then once you identify that, identify the key areas in each journal. When you want to submit, it is not that we just refer to few articles recently published and try to push it. So each journal will come with the journal objective and vision. You have to go to the homepage of the journal and look for what are the major broad specialty areas they would like to cover within a subspecialty, and what are the specific topic they will be more interested. They would give in their objective the journal, and then each journal will have some special issue. That is when it makes our life easy to publish. Some journal will have issue dedicated to certain disease or certain specific subtopics. So if you happen to get such information, you stand a good chance to publish your article. And then if you read a recent article, like the 2 or 3 recent articles from that particular journal which you select, and identify not the subject, the depth of information what they want, like the evidence, the level of evidence they are looking for, like whether they just want baseline information or they need detailed analysis of the thing, or should they need more basic understanding or translation research. Try to understand that and match your outcome, whatever material you want to publish, try to match that to the recently accepted publication. And sometimes you can also get articles which are ahead of print. So what will be coming in the next issue will also be there. So you refer to those, and not only for the content, but also the level of evidence they need, and also the way they present. So compared to last 5 to 10 years when we were publishing, now the way in which the data is represented, the histogram or the bar graph or 3-dimensional, everything is changed. So we need to look for the recent trend of representing the information in more meaningful, and then we try to select the journal and start communicating. And this is one approach. And if you want to, suppose you have enough journals published to meet your criteria, and then you are looking for a good journal. So now my target is to have enough to meet the minimum criteria. Let me try a high impact journal. So it will be a slight modification than what we do for a regular journal. So based on the impact, you select top 2 or 3 journals, and then you can get there are several websites which give the generalized or normalized impact factor. And if you go to web page of each journal homepage, you'll get a recent impact factor. And sometimes that will be changing every year. So they would give the 2020 or 2021 impact factor. Once you know that that is the impact factor you want to target, then you have to design your hypothesis to directly meet to the scope of the journal. So I'm talking about the journal like Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine. So they want your hypothesis of the research paper to be fitting with the scope of the journal directly. Otherwise, the first round itself, they will say that it won't meet to the minimum requirement of the journal. So then also understand the depth of evidence that need to be accepted by the journal. Not only to meet your hypothesis, as I told, you also should consider the level of evidence that need for that particular journal. And once you prepare a manuscript, you know how to make a manuscript, prepare it, draft it, and revise it. And then please get a feedback from either experts in the field or those who have published extensively in that journal. So when we have to publish in high impact journal, what we need to do is draft an article and request one of the publisher, the frequent publisher in the journal, to just give their feedback. So that will definitely help you when you are especially targeting high impact journal. Consider their comments and critically you evaluate it, and then it is submit. Then the chances of success will be better. So this is to approach a high impact journal. And the next is a special category. So these are some sometimes we do certain analysis and we take a research. We don't know where this journal can be, this type of work can be communicated. That time, try to approach editor or associate editor explaining your concept. This is so we get a lot of positive feedback from them, and then they suggest you to share your abstract and outline of the work. So do not share any data with them. Just share the outline of your work and what kind of inference you are getting in a bullet point along with your abstract of 100 to 150 words. And they would suggest you, many times it happened to us, like when we do a translational research, we don't know whether to send it for a clinical base or a basic sense. So we get such a comment from the editor or associate editor asking us to just refocus the discussion or conclusion part to wider audience, and they give a very good suggestion, and then you can accordingly communicate to the journal. So these are the routine 3 types of thing. And the 4th category is the invited article. And once you published 1 or 2 article, you will be getting invitation from many editors saying that we want you to contribute to our journal. And this, whenever you get an invited invitation for the article, please make sure that they are not predatory journal and they fit into the category of either your specialty or they're indexed in a required website. So then you just carefully see the invitation, and whenever they send an invitation, they would specify the area in which they are looking for article. If it is a predatory journal, they'll tell any of your work you please send to us, we will publish. But if it is a very good journal from a well-known publisher, they would say that we are looking for example, angiogenesis and carcinoma related article, or sometimes they tell cataract related issues or public health related issues. So like that, they give a broad specialty, and then make sure that your article or your research paper match to that, and you can even communicate a draft to them. So whenever you get an invitation, you have freedom of making use of their expertise. And once you send a draft, they would suggest, and there the communication is much faster. And once again, there is a debate on paid and unpaid journal. As long as your paid journal is a part of the accepted source, like Copernicus and other things, and it undergoes a rigorous review, it will be good to communicate. Because some of the open journal now, they say that they are very high impact journal. For example, Frontier Journal in Pharmacology is indexed in all the things, and it has impact of 6. The only problem there is the processing fees is close to $3,000. So we can't say that all the paid journals are bad or not good, but you have to make sure that they meet the criteria of our governing body. And then we communicate. And whenever we communicate in each of this category of research, the COI's chance of acceptance, once we communicate, unless it is invited, where we have more than 90% chance of acceptance. So others, it is less than 10 to 20%. So what I would suggest is keeping this in mind. So if you want to publish in high impact journal, chance of acceptance is less than 1% sometimes. And if you want to publish in journal like PNAs, like American Association Journal, the impact is somewhere 17. They have a rule that from each country they have identified certain people that they have to recommend that article to the journal. So the acceptance is very low there. So what I suggest is be prepared for major revision. If you are lucky enough, it is major revision, minor revision, or major revision, or most of the time is rejection. So when what we do is whenever we send a journal, the entire cycle of communication to you is now, which was earlier 2 to 3 months, is made to 1 to 2 weeks. So within 2 weeks, you will get to know the fate of your journal. Either it is revision or rejection. Whenever you get a rejection, please prepare. As Dr. Nandakumar said, like keep some of the online resources which will make your change in the journal style and other things much easier than doing it manually. So sometimes the selection of journal should not be any one of these category. If you want to find out a journal after completion of the work, most of the time we will be fitting into a wrong size, because so when we read a article from a journal, they would ask some parameter which you have not done or analyzed or taken care of. So you can't go back and redo the whole thing, including your ethical clearance. So better you do enough groundwork to know what are the parameters you need to consider for that journal, and if you decide the journal well in advance, so it will be a comfortable fit. So similarly, these are the things, like whenever we do a research communication, so you basically we need to write it for this is the common issue I had up to my 15-20 journal publication. The most common comment what they used to, you are not disclosing complete information. So I was writing, thinking and assuming that the reader will have same knowledge as I have. So most of the time we are writing this article for people with different backgrounds. So we need to write in a manner that others who are not expert in our field should also understand the thing. And this is a common thing that we say. We research is it's like a chicken and egg story, where whichever is first. Look, should I publish first or do a research? So always keep the publication in mind and start planning for research. So that's what we tell. Like when we have enough data to publish, and sometimes we spend 2 to 3 years in completion of a study. Before completion of the study, we can always take a review article or some systematic review to understand what is there. So that can happen, but your original research from the thing should always happen after completion of the research. But you should have what journal to publish well before planning the research. And this, where do I find the journal? As I told, please go to Google Scholar, it's a part of Google search. And also the governing body website. Like for example, for most of us, it is a MCR, NMC. If you go, they give a link to all the journals where we can get the related journals to our area or specialty. Then sometimes it is the publisher. We know that there are many publishers, well-known publishers, maybe elsewhere, or Lancet, the Nature group of publishers. So if you know the publishers, so now the easiest thing is if you go to Google Scholar and give a subspecialty, the top 10 journals in this each area they will give, and then again you can give keyword like open access journal or non-open access journal, so it will categorize to them, then get that, and then with the broad speciality you can again go within the search to get specific detail. And there is a new service from both Google and other search engines. Find me a suitable journal. So there is, you give that word and it opens a page. It will ask you to put the title of your paper. So if you give that, it will suggest 20 to 30 top journal that will suit the title of your journal. That is something which is very useful. And when we do interdisciplinary study or some new study, if you give a title and ask the search engine to match it, so it will give a list of 10 or 20 journals which can be considered for formatting. So these are some of the things which we need to think. So when it comes to submitting an article, so as all of us know, apart from your main manuscript, the manuscript should be always formatted in the prescribed format from each journal. Go to website and there is a special column or a special drop down menu which says instruction to author. Once you open that, they will give how to start from title till the reference and all the images, what should be the quality of image and tables, size, the font size, everything. So please follow that thing that constitute a completed manuscript, and a covering letter to either editor or associate editor. The associate editor, when we sometime a journal with a broader perspective will have associate editor for subspecialty. So when we are submitting to that specialty, we need to address it to associate editor. Otherwise, you can also give it to the editor-in-chief or chief editor. Address to them with their complete address, and we need to add some other information with what the main component of the covering letter. I'll come in a minute, and then we need to give 3 to 4 bullet points of highlights of your work, like what are the key component from your research you are finding out. And they also require abstract in length. This is off late, like last 1 year they're asking. They're to make this journal used by a layperson, they were putting all the abstract in a layman's language so that they can go back to it and refer for their thing. And they also need a running title. Most of us get confused that running title is not a short title of your full-length title. It is a title that appears in each page of the journal, which will have certain restriction. It needs to be around 80 to 100 characters with certain, it should not be repetitive of your full title. So use that. And also many good journals will ask you for list of reviewers. Please try to provide a complete list with the email address, the list of reviewers who are experts in the field and who have recently published. So that way you can, your review process will be much faster. And please have a high quality image, because any image with less than 300 dpi will not be accepted. Recently, for one of the publication from Department of Plastic Surgery, so the paper got accepted and they were waiting almost 1 month to get a high quality images of the surgical cases. So we need to have high quality thing, and sometimes the high impact journal will also ask us to send the scanned raw data. That means if it is an Excel sheet or a case report or a diagnostic report masking the details of the patient, we need to send it, keep those things. And original images and pictures, if you are making a collage or modifying the image for some thing, they ask thing. And copy of informed consent form, and also ethical committee clearance letter along with the registration number, and raw data recording. These are asked by some of the high impact journal to give it as a supplementary material for reviewing and publication. And they also ask undertaking from all the authors regarding the authorship and other issues concerned to the publication. And yeah, whenever we are submitting an article, once we write the article, the next process is submission. Earlier they used to ask for hard copies. Now most of the journals, either it is an online submission in the web portal, or very few journals will ask you to submit an email. So make sure that email what you submit you get it from the authentic homepage of the journal. So otherwise it will be reaching some other person. So when it is in a website portal, it will have a self-directed upload mechanism where for each section they would give the word count and the details. So if even the word count exceeds by 1, it will not take. So if a 250 word abstract, if you have 250 first word, it will say it is exceeding the limit. So please make sure that those things are taken care. And when you are submitting, most of the time, the corresponding author need to submit the article. The reason is, before we submit, they ask a lot of agreement of terms of references for publication. So the corresponding author can take the onus and agree that most of the time it is like terms of condition, what we see in credit card. We never read that, we just sign. Even here, they would have a lot of other information. Please go through those minor information, because tomorrow when it is published, there are a lot of issue when they write, somebody write comment on your article and suggestion or something, so we need to answer. So there are several conditions we will be agreeing, so please read that before we think. And in an exceptional case, other authors can submit. Please do not make a person unknown, the person who is not involved in the study, to submit, because they have to agree for certain terms of references. So it is better either the corresponding author and any unavoidable condition, the other authors of the paper can communicate to. So there is no chance, I mean, any other person can submit on behalf, no. So because it involves a lot of ethical formalities. So the format that you submit and output of that paper, once it is accepted, are entirely different. And don't try to see a published article and try to arrange, typeset the information as like that. It is a job of a journal office to do that. We need to give in a consecutive manner, where you have title page which have the title, running title, along the details of the author's affiliation, corresponding author name, and their fax number and email ID. And the next is abstract paper page, where you have to give only abstract, then introduction. So you follow this. Always after main body of the manuscript, you have acknowledgement, then reference, then comes the bibliography, and all your tables and images appear at the end of the paper when you're submitting. But when they typeset, it appears entirely different. So don't try to do the journal office job. Just format in a normal way and read carefully the instruction to the authors. So that will give a way it needs to be submitted. And then these are some of the things which we need to follow strictly. A page limit and word limit. They say the original article can be 9,000 to 10,000 words. So do not cross that word limit. And font style and size, they would say throughout, this should be the font size, the title should be in uppercase. So just strictly stick on to the instruction. And image format, they would even give the resolution and size of each image, so that will help them to format into journal. Even number of figures and tables, nowadays they are restricting because of length of the article. So they say the total number of table and figures should be less than 7 or 8. So try to have the combined images or table for making it very simple. And acknowledgement, now they are making the funding agency or support mandate to acknowledge, and they also have a heading called conflict of interest. Unless it is a part of any commercial study, you can declare none. Otherwise, if it is a part of any sponsor studies, we need to take a permission and give the consent there. And yeah, reference and please use Zotero or some online resource, so that can save a lot of time. Otherwise, many of us have faced this during our dissertation. So each of reference format would take a lot of time. And as I told, in covering letter, please mention briefly how article title or the central hypothesis of article is in alignment with the scope of your journal, and 2 or 3 key findings of the journal. And you can also say 1 or 2 lines about novelty, how different this is. So because this will be read by the editor or associate editor before they push it to next level. So these will help them to consider. Otherwise, if we send article today, tomorrow it will be returned saying that it is not meeting the scope of the journal. So please have this highlighted in your cover letter. And then, as we were also told before, so use a formatting softwares, grammarly check, as the language what we use may not be suitable for international audience. So please use the grammarly check and plagiarism check. Some journals have made it mandatory to pass it through, and some new journals and high impact journal have an inbuilt mechanism. The moment you upload your article, it will generate the plagiarism report and fact finding the thing. And so they have, like, suppose if you have image modified or anything taken from some other article, so they can easily find. And authenticity check, these are some of the software they use to alter, and we can make use of some of these online resources to make our publication part or preparation of the article easier. So with this, I would stop here. If you have any question, one or two, we'll take now or at the end of the presentation.
Thank you, sir, for that presentation. Good afternoon, everybody. After that talk, now we're going to be looking at how do you measure the quality of research publications. So once your research has been published, how do you know how good your research article is published?
Transfer the listing to share this.
So how do you measure the impact? Okay, there are many tools which are used to measure the impact of an individual's publication. So you have published it. Now, how do you know how good your publication is? So there are certain indices and certain tools which are used to measure the impact of your published article. The first amongst all of this is the H index. So what is the H index? It was an index which was suggested in 2005 by George E. Hirsch, and that H from Hirsch, that is what is there in this H index. He was a physicist at University of California, San Diego, and he suggested that this H index be used to measure the quality of a publication. Share some. Oh. So this H index is an author level metric. Okay, now there are certain matrices which are author level. So this will measure the productivity and citation impact of the publication. This was initially used for an individual scientist or for a scholar who is publishing the article. So basically, what is the definition of a H index? H index is defined as the highest number of publications of a scientist that have received H or more citations each, while other publications have not more than H citations each. So in simple terms, if a person has a H index of 5, it means that they have at least 5 publications which have 5 citations. If a person has a H index of 10, it means that they have at least 10 publications with 10 citations each. Supposing the person has H index of 12, it means that they have 12 publications and each of the 12 publications will have a citation of 12. So that is what is, in simple terms, what is the H index. Okay, and the one thing which you have to remember is H index may differ from database to database. That is because each of the database will look at the journals which are covered in different years. For example, Scopus will consider work only published from 1996 or later, whereas Web of Science will calculate the H index for all the years that the institution is subscribed to. For example, if our college has subscribed to Web of Science from 2015, it will give you the H index from 2015. Whereas if your article has been published in 2000, it will be reflected in Scopus. So please remember, it also depends upon how much you subscribe it, and from database to database, the H index can vary. The next thing is what is called as a citation analysis. So what is a citation analysis? It simply involves counting the number of times one article is cited by other works to measure the impact of a publication or author. Or in simple terms, if you want to know how many times your article has been cited, you go to Google and type Google Scholar. In that, you type the name of your article. So in that, in brackets, it will come what is how many times it has been cited. Okay. So basically, how many times it has been cited, that is the citation analysis. And remember that there is no single tool which will collect all the publications and all the cited reference. So if you want to thoroughly analyze the impact of a publication, you need to look for it in multiple databases, okay? Because there are many databases, so you need to look at the various databases to get a rough idea how impactful the citation is. The next term which we can look at in terms of measuring the quality of publication is what is called as altmetrics. So what is altmetrics? It is a quantitative measure of the quality and quantity of attention that a work is receiving through social media, citations, and article downloads. Okay, so there are various components. So how much of an online coverage is your particular article getting? That is the broad term which is used for altmetrics. Now there are certain specific things in altmetrics. Okay, so altmetrics is a broad term for all of this. It can be categorized as the views. Okay, how many views is your article getting? How many HTML views? How many PDF downloads have been done for your article? So that the number of views your article gets, that is one component of altmetrics. The second component is discussed. For example, you have uploaded your journal on like either Facebook or Twitter or on ResearchGate. How many people are commenting on your journal? Okay, on a science blog or Wikipedia, is it being quoted? And other social media, how many people are discussing about it? How many comments you have received? Okay, that is one more thing which will come under altmetrics. The third thing is how many times your article has been saved on social bookmarks like Mendeley, Site You Like. So how many times has your article been saved? That is one more thing which comes under altmetrics. Next is cited. Okay, that is a simple citation. How many times your article has been cited? And databases like Scopus, Web of Science, Google Scholar, how many people have cited your article? So these are few of the components which come under altmetrics. And how many times this thing has been recommended? For example, it's used by F1000 Prime. So what is this F1000 Prime? It's a subscription-based article recommendation and literature discover survey, which helps the readers to go through thousands of articles in a single published each day. So how many times your article is being recommended by these sites? So all these are components of altmetrics. So when you look at altmetrics, you will know how much of that article which you have published is being accessed online. So these are certain components, and all of this together, we use a single term altmetrics to categorize this whole thing under one category. The next is what we very commonly use is the impact factor of a journal. So all of us know that the higher the impact factor, the better is the journal. Like mostly pure science journals have very high impact factors, and very good journals like the NEJM and all of that, they also have high impact factors. So the higher the number, better is the impact. So basically, what is impact factor? It is a measure of the frequency in which an average article in the journal is cited in a particular year. And impact factor will measure the impact of the journal. It's not the impact of the individual article. Okay, so the entire journal. So how many times an average article gets cited in one particular year, that is measured. So impact factor is a journal metric. It's not an individual metric. So you have an impact factor for a journal, whereas a citation index will be for your specific article. That is how many times an article has been cited. That will come under citation index. Whereas impact factor is for the journal. Supposing you have published it in a particular journal like NEJM, so your impact factor will be for NEJM. Whereas cited, if your article has been cited 1,000 times, that citation index will be for that particular article in a journal. So impact factor is a journal level metric, whereas citation index is an author level metric. Next is we have something called as the I10 index. So I10 index is a very simple measure. So Google Scholar uses this I10 index. So what is I10 index? It's in very simple terms. It is a number of publications with at least 10 citations. So supposing you have 15 publications with 10 citations, the I-10 index will be 10. That means to 15 it will be. That means that all your 15 articles have at least 10 citations. Okay, and this is another way to help gauge the productivity of a scholar. So you will know if they have an I-10 index, so you know that those many number of citations have been there for that particular journal. Then another index which is similar to the I-10 is the G index. It is also an author level metric. It was suggested in 2006 by Leo Eddy. So this is calculated based on the citation received by a given researcher's publication. So how do you calculate this G index? Okay, so if a person has a G index of 10, it means that the top 10 publications of an author have been cited at least 10 power 2 times. Okay, that is the G index is 100. Okay, and a G index of 20 will indicate that the top 20 publications have been cited 20 power 2 times. That is at least 400 times it has been cited. So this is what we know as the G index. The next index is a little interesting. It's called as the Kardashian index or the K index. So all of you know Kim Kardashian. Keeping Up with the Kardashians has been a very long reality sitcom show. So this Kardashian index is named after her, Kim Kardashian. It's a measure of the discrepancy between a scientist's social media profile and a publication record. So all of us have so many friends on Facebook, Twitter, Insta, and all that followers, right? And how many? So this was proposed in 2014. This measure will compare the number of followers a research scientist has on Twitter to the number of citations they receive for their peer-reviewed work. So this is the Kardashian index or K index, which is slightly much different. All those were only academic. So this considers both the social media as well as the peer-reviewed work. And in March 2009, the Public Library of Science introduced article-level metrics for all articles. And the open access publisher PLOS, they provide article level metrics for all its journals, including the number of downloads, citations, and alt metrics. And in March 2014, it was announced that counter statistics, that is which measures the usage of online research, scholarly resources, they are available at the author level. Next, coming to the Q index. This is again a very common index which we look at. So the Q index is again for a journal. So whenever we publish in an article in a journal, we look at whether it belongs to one of these four things, whether it's a Q1, Q2, Q3 or a Q4 journal. Okay. So what it means is a Q1 journal means that journal is ranked among the top 25% of journals in that particular specialty or in that particular field. If it is a Q2 journal, it means that it comes under the top 50% in that particular field. Similarly, if it's a Q3 journal, it comes under the top 75%, and the last 25% comes under the Q4 index. So it is but obvious that you would definitely have to look at publishing in Q1, if not the Q2 journals, because these carry more weightage. The very good journals, so the top 25% journals will come under the Q1 category, and the top 50% will come under the Q2 category. So this is called as the Q index or the quartile index. So this is very briefly about the various matrices or the indices with which you can compare the quality, measure the quality of your publication. So if there are any doubts, we'll take it up after the next session. Now Mr. Raghavendra from Drillbit will give you a demo of how to do a plagiarism check. Thank you.
The next session will be from Raghavendra R, who is the head of business development at Drillbit Software. We have procured the licenses of Drillbit for doing plagiarism check of all the documents at the institution. So I request Raghavendra R to start the presentation and share the screen.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. You allowed me to share the PPT
Yes,
screen, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The screen is visible, sir. We are able to see the screen.
Okay. Thank you. So, before I'm going to show live demonstrations, I would like to explain the UGC guidelines of higher education respect to the plagiarism in 2018 that has been adopted and accepted by the Indian Council of Medical Research in 2019. So I don't want to go deeply because that policy document clearly says that what are the document you need to be check plagiarism in the academic environment to uh, protect the intellectual property rights or intellectual output in the form of the textual. So research paper, thesis, dissertation, if you are contributing any chapters in the books or full-fledged books, if you are taken sabbatical leave and you are writing any books on your chosen domain or your respective subject, those things you needs to be get the plagiarism check, and any other similar work. If you are presenting any posters or conference, any professional events, if you are going to submit any paper or technical reports, project reports, white papers, or anything in the form of textual, which produced in the academic environment, these are the things mandatorily need to be checked. Plagiarism, as per the UGC guidelines 2018, it has been accepted and adopted by the ICMR in the year 2019. And what are the similarity checks exclusion? This is very, very important. See, if you are writing any thesis, dissertation, and research article, so many components are existing in those documents. Some of the items you need to exclude. You don't need to consider as a plagiarized text while you are checking the plagiarism in uploading the document for the software to check. So all quoted work reproduced with all necessary permission and or attribution. So what you do, you will take in 1 or 2 lines from already published knowledge for writing the new research papers that you are giving in double quoted, and also giving the credit to the original knowledge creator in the form of reference and bibliography things. Those needs not to be considered as a plagiarized. And also all references, bibliography, table of content, preface, and acknowledgement. These are the items no need to be considered as a plagiarized text, and all generic terms, laws, standard symbols, and standard equations. These are the things no need to consider as a plagiarism and exclude from the plagiarism check that has been clearly said by the UGC 2018 guidelines. For example, means any standard words for in the legal terms, Indian Penal Code, IPC or CRPC, Government of India, Government of Parliament. So these are the standard terms, and any standard alternate, there is no words alternative to the some words or things, formulas if you are using, those are no need to consider as a plagiarism as per the policy document. So, and also I am not going to discuss this. I am sharing our software. So this is our web page. Sir, I hope this is visible, sir.
Yes, sir, it is visible. You're able to see.
Yeah. So to upload the document, we need to create the folder. Just you can give your you choose the validity period of your licensing. And this is a very, very important desired setting, because what kind of desired setting you're going to select before uploading the document for plagiarism check, it will directly reflecting on the similarity index, what we call it as the copied content existing in the uploaded document, it will reflect. So as per I had explained UGC guidelines, it clearly says we need to exclude the reference in bibliography. What you have to select as, and also double quoted items existing in your uploaded document, also it needs to be excluded. You can select the exclude quotes. And also we had given here 14 similarity words and 5 similarity words. Because if you are a student and a research scholar, if you are checking for thesis and dissertation, you can select the 14 similarity words. If you are submitting the research article for any international publication house or any high impact journal, so you have to select 5 similarity words because they are following the 5 to 8 standard similarity words. So here I am uploading a manuscript, so I am not going to select yes, I am leaving it the auto select option. And the option to exclude include source, you have to select the yes because I am an author. I have used my previously published papers for my recently writing research papers, and those knowledge are inevitable even though I have copied. So such a thing that software is showing that it has been plagiarized. So I want to exclude that one. So if you are opt that option here, you will get that option to in the analysis page to exclude what are the things you want to exclude from the plagiarized text. And also our software is integrated with grammar check. One of the speaker rightly mentioned that because the more of your papers are rejected due to the non-technical reason because not good English, and that is the reason it has been rejected. So this is also very important. It has been additional cost, and if you have taken the license of grammar check, you can select the yes. So then you can click on submit button. So you could able to see here your folder has been created, and you can click on edit option. Under edit setting, if you are not happy, satisfied, comfortable with the way you have selected the desired setting, you will get one more chance opportunity here to do any changes, amendment in the desired setting. Click on submit button, you will get back to here. To upload the document, you have to click on select. Under upload English, you will find 4 different options: single file, multiple file, zip file, and Google Drive. If you have saved any document in the Google Drive, straight away you can upload and check the plagiarism. Under zip file, you can able to upload 20 file in a single time for checking the plagiarism. Result will be generated and delivered in independent file and individual file. Even though you uploaded 20 file, you will get the result independent document wise. Under multiple, you could able to upload 10 files. So I am selecting single file. So give the author of the document, title of the document, and document type. We had given different document types here to help the licensing institutions to generate the statistics to understand to what type of document only for using software for to check the plagiarism, or they will check all type of intellectually production in the form of the textual for checking the plagiarism. Apart from the thesis, dissertation, and article, they are collaborated with third party for producing white papers, technical reports, project reports, or anything, or conference papers, or e-books, or e-chapters. Those are the things needs to be mandatorily check plagiarism. So that is the reason we are given different category of the documents which you need to select. It will relevant to the type of document you are uploading for the plagiarism check, either thesis, dissertation, article, ebook, synopsis, assignment, project work, research paper, technical report, white paper. If you're contributing any chapters in the books, analytical or business report, blogs, web page, still you are having option to select others if your document does not belongs to any of these type of documents. So I am selecting research paper here. Choose the file. So here we are given a multiple file format, it will be support PDF, doc, etc. So then you can click on the submit button. So it will take to generate the report 3 to 15 minutes, depends upon the file size, internet connectivity, signal strength also matters. So paper ID is very important because accidentally or unintentionally, if you have saved this document in the repository, the same document again you are uploading for plagiarism check, the software will telling that 100% copied because the document has been you have been saved in the repository. Such circumstances, if you want to remove, if you want to delete the document from the repository, you have to write back to us mentioning the paper ID. If you are mention the paper ID, so it will helping us to remove that particular saved document from the repository. Then you can again upload the same document for plagiarism check. You will get the appropriate similarity index respect to the amount of copied content existing in the document. So could you able to see here, this is the 13% similarity has been generated. So here, this is very, very important analysis part, more than 80% of the queries and we get here respect to this space and author is having the lot of key factors here. See, he or she can able to reduce similarity index once they get to know that what amount of similarity index has been generated, uploaded document. See, as per the UGC guidelines, 1 to 0 to 10% is the acceptable level. So still the author of this particular manuscript is having the scope to reduce 3% of the similarity index. That is very important. And also he or she could able to understand the matched source where they are exactly copied and how to reduce the similarity index by understanding the report by downloading it. So I will show you here, this is the document details. So similarity is the 13% and matched source. So under matched source, you could able to see a serial number, location, primary source, percentage. This is very, very important. So 1% of copied content, they have copied from this respective source. If you want to see for the curiosity, you can click on it here. It will take you to the corresponding link where exactly author has been copied. See, from here they have been copied. And you can check it like that anything. And as I mentioned that if you want to exclude, so I feel that these are the first paper, it has been my previously published and I have the liberty to exclude. But as per doing it, it is ethically, I have been doing the wrong because once I got the publication, I have surrendered my copyright to the respective publication owners. I am not only engaging in the self-plagiarism, also I am committing to the copyright infringement. Because unless until without prior writing permission, I could not have any rights to, even though I am author of that my previous publication, I don't have any rights to use. So just I am showing excluding. So you could able to see this has been highlighted previously because I am excluded. See, it has been also reduced to similarity percentage. See here is showing Kaul's Klein dark energy cosmological model. So you feel that this is the standard term. It has been derived by one of the scientists. So those who are engaged in the physics domain, they have to use this when they're doing the inventions or discovery on this particular area. They have to use, they're arguing that this is the standard term. We have to exclude. So such time what they have to do, they are excluding. By excluding it, it has been reflected in the similarity percentage also from 13 to 12. So again, if you want to include, just you can click on it here. So it will take it back to the original score of the 13%. And also you can come down. The particular author of this manuscript copied 34 sources. 34 sources accumulation of 13% of similarity. And you may seeing here lot of the things from the serial number 8 onwards, you will find less than 1%. See, less than 1% in plagiarism domain, they call it as a pollution or false plagiarism. It means that one word, two words, standard words. As I said in the beginning, as per UGC guidelines 2018, it has been accepted by ICMR. The standard words, terminology, generic terms needs not to be considered as a plagiarized text, even though software analyzing and detecting and telling that plagiarized, because the software is analyzing in the huge databases. Somewhere else it has been appeared that word, it is stating that it has been copied. So being a subject matter expert, author of the particular document or manuscript, we can decide that those are the inevitable words. Those words, there is no alternative words for that one. That is the reason we are used it for writing the theses, dissertation, or research papers, you are confident about that, those you can exclude by using these options. So this is the way we can reduce the similarity percentage and also ensure that we have compliance to the guidelines. So this is the middle page of the analysis. You may find that different content has been highlighted in different color to indicate to the helping the authors to the copied content from the each different sources. You could able to see here different color: green, gray, blue, yellow. So it indicates that copied content, what are the color highlighted in the text, all are copied content. So these are the features. We need to download it. So this is the report will be generated in a PDF format. This is the way you will get the report. First part, you will get the complete document detail. In the result information, you could able to get to here. The 13% is copied content and 87% is original content. And also the software is bifurcate and tell you that where exactly author has been copied. Author copied only from the internet sources, or apart from they have copied from the student repository or institution repository or journals, publications, like that. Wherever they have copied, it has been bifurcated, intimating the author that where they have been copied. It will helping the user community to how to reduce the similarity index by replacing copied content with original content. So if you come down, see, this is very, very important because here we have adopted UGC grading system. See, UGC clearly says that they have categorized into 4 grades, depends upon the generation of the percentage of similarity. A grade is satisfactory if generated 0 to 10%, and it is also acceptable across India. So B grade, if above 11 and below 40% considered as a B grade, still you are having option to the revised script you can submit within the stipulated time. If C grade is above 41 and below 60, and D grade is unacceptable if generated more than 61%. So there is a penalty is there. You have to be very carefully. The penalty for the research scholars, students and faculty members is applicable as per the guidelines. So this uploaded document generated 13% of similarity, and also we are showing how many sources has been matched. So obviously it falls under D grade. So you could able to see here matched domain, percentage, and source type we are given here. You could able to decide, being a author yourself, where I can replace the copied content with original content to reduce the similarity percentage, which will helping you to submit the particular document either the international publications or your studying universities. See, each highlighted color started with the source code. So you can download and you can study the report and you can reduce the similarity percentage. By replacing copied content, that is the only way to you can reduce the similarity. By doing it, you can uphold the academic integrity of your institutions as well. So this is the QR code. You can scan the QR code, download the report and directly send it to the respective professor, HOD, PG coordinator or editorial board of the particular journal. Save to repository. This is not a mandatory, it's wish of the customer. If they want, they can save it. So this is a very, very important digital receipt. It has been made it mandatory. You have to enclose this certificate along with the document where you would like to submit the document. So this is the standard format we are given, and also signature authority. In the bottom, you will find the option of print. By clicking it, you will get the printout of this certificate. And also in the left corner, you will find 4 different document types we are given. Either your uploaded article, thesis, dissertation, or synopsis. By clicking the each document, it will the certificate name will get automatically changes. So this is the email notification. So if you are confident about the uploaded document generated 8 to 10% of the similarity index, there is no need for downloading. You can directly send that report to the respective author or professor or HOD. Just you can type the mail ID, and if you can type the multiple mail IDs also, and you can click on submit button, that report will directly go to the respective mail IDs which you are going to mention there. So this is the file information. You will get complete information about your uploaded document, how many pages, words, number, sentence, and characters. So this segments.
Raghavendra sir, just a quick question.
Nanda Kumar sir, I have completed now. The session is open for questions. If they are having any doubts, clarification, I may take.
Yeah, so I, being the moderator, I will take the privilege of asking the first question.
Yes, sir.
So if you can just please share the screen once more, the report what you had.
Just a minute.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, please.
Sir, like as you rightly told, like some of them will be the sentences and other things can be modified. So in the first page, what you are seeing in that blue color one and other physical parameters,
Yes,
that
sir.
has been put in blue color.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
how to go about changing it, sir?
So changing it, you can download the report here.
Huh.
So I will show you. See if it is being downloaded now. See here each color. You could able to see here, sir.
That is fine, sir. We understood. Like we will go there and it would be there
Go
as
there.
this.
Yeah, here you can understand 11. Each
Huh.
source is 11. For 14, that other words I will show you that.
So for example, 11, if you look at it.
No, just a minute. Other words. So this one is 4. And the other word. Could you able to see it, sir? 4.
Yeah. Huh.
For here, I will check 4. IEEE. See, like that, if IEEE, you can click, select here, sir, 29, exclude. Once you click on it here, you will get the button here, exclude. You can exclude it.
We are understanding that. Like the question is not about like excluding it. Most of us find it difficult because if you go to that second page to be or some word, because this can't be written in any other way. That is what most of the doctors are when we are writing in field and other physical formats. So how can we write it in any other way? Excluding is a simple solution, but it will still be put in the report as these sources have been excluded. So in that context,
sir, I will explain it, sir. There are 2 ways it is there. See, something what happened, there is one of the type of plagiarism, call it as paraphrasing. There is a redrafting. What happened if you are taking one paragraph, redrafting and writing it, some of the words it will identifying that one. Those words are inevitable. There is no alternative. They are retained. But if you go before or after that words, you will find that that paragraph has been copied from somewhere else. That is the one thing. Second thing, there is a genuine reason. As you said, those are the common words, standard words, normal words. You could not able to replace it. So that is the reason we are working on it to give the option to filtration of the words. Some 10 or 15 words, you may decide yourself that those are the common words. There is need to be not considered as the plagiarized text in uploading documents. If you are select or giving those words, if you are the software will not detect and analyzing that, so those words wherever it's existing in that particular document, sir. That is the future we are going to incorporate, sir. Soon we are working on it, sir.
Understood, sir. Because that is exactly, thank you, sir. Thank you. That is exactly the thing. Because forget about technical words. If you see in the same document, to be. So to be is something like it is not even a word, like it is like the English language and that has been used. So it's a little bit tricky. When we see this number,
exactly.
2025, we have to do it.
Sir, these we are getting a lot of queries from the customers, sir. Our technical team is working on it. In another 1 or 2 weeks, sir, it's in the final stage. Once we incorporate a feature, we will get back to you, sir.
Sure,
That is
sir,
the
sure.
request.
Thanks a lot for the very detailed
There's
presentation.
chances of misusing also, sir.
Understood. Now, because like what happens is like many a times some of the international journals, they don't look at the process, they look at the output. So in the
Yes, sir.
output, if it is a particular thing, and especially some of our Indian made softwares, they are a little bit skeptical. So they would want to run it in their own things, integrated Turnitin or some kind of a thing.
Sure,
So
sir.
if the variation is more than 5% from our
Yes, sir.
submitted report and their report, it gets
Correct,
rejected.
sir. Exactly, sir. You are right, sir.
Yeah.
So we are
fine,
working
sir.
on it, sir, because just in another 1 or 2 weeks, sir, we'll come back to you with solution.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And like keeping in the time that we had set, I think we are running just on time, so that's a good thing. So we'll open the floor for discussions and question and answers. All the 4 speakers are there. So whoever wants to ask, they can unmute and ask the question, or you can put it in the chat box. We'll try to respond to a few questions. Any quick questions for all 4
Good
sessions?
afternoon. This is Dr. Anupama Hegde from cardiology.
Please, ma'am, go on.
See, the ethical clearance when we take for any study, usually it is given as 6 months to 1 year. Okay, and the publication may not happen immediately. It may be a little later. So if they ask us for the ethical clearance, does the same certificate hold good, or is there any change in the directions?
Okay. I saw Ritu on the panel. If Dr. Ritu is listening, she can respond. Otherwise, I will do. Dr. Ritu, are you there? She has left. Anyway, I'll respond to that. The ethical clearance is given for collection and conduct of the study. Publication is an outcome and output of the study, ma'am. So as long as you have finished the study in that period or duration, you can certainly publish using the same certificate.
Okay.
The corollary to that would be if the study is not completed within the stipulated duration for whatever reason, COVID, no patients or this thing, you can go back to the ethical committee and ask for an extension provided the same protocol is being followed without any deviation. So they will usually give an extension. But for publication, you don't need the certificate till valid till that period. As long as the study has been conducted within the stipulated duration, that should be okay.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Really good job.
Any other questions? Rajita, do you want to ask a question? In fact, Anuradha ma'am is here. Anuradha ma'am, do you want to add anything?
Can you hear me, Nanda?
Yeah, ma'am. Very clear. Please go on, ma'am.
Yeah, what was the question like that regarding the publication, right?
Yeah, the question what Anupama Hegde asked was like, if the ethical clearance has been provided for 1 year and they want to, I mean, like they are required to publish in the 2022. So will they be required to come and ask for an ethical clearance?
There is no need to ask again the permission because it is clearance will be given to conduct for the conduct of the study. Once the study is done, they can publish later on. Like even if it is after 6 months or 1 year, they did not take the ethical clearance again.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
And any other question?
Nanda Kumar sir.
Hele Raghavendra.
Sir, one more question I found in chat respect to the plagiarism. Shall I answer it or what?
Yeah, please go on. Please go on.
Dr. Pratap Kumar J is asking that despite quoting the reference and paraphrasing the statements, there is a plagiarism issue. What is the permissible above? See, permissible limit is as per the international journals, they used to standard between 8 to 15%, and as per the UGC guideline across India, the universities they are following 0 to 10%, sir. So that is the maximum limit. If you are using paraphrasing, even paraphrasing, if you have done the most of the sophisticated and commercial plagiarism software, they will analyze and detecting that. That is was initially I was answering one word or two word, it detecting that. If you go before and after those words, that paragraph has been redrafting and rewriting it to escape from the plagiarism. That won't be possible. It will analyzing and telling that plagiarism. Respect to the double quoted, it should be within the fix of the percentage what decided by the as per the policies below 10%. It should be acceptable, sir. So we cannot say that being a writer, I am an author, I cannot use double quoted and entire my paper would be the double quoted, and I can claim that I have been given the credit to the original content holder and I have not plagiarized like that. It's not be possible. So it should be the below 10%, sir.
Yes, sir. Agreed. And also, like, ideally, there should not be any plagiarism. So, to answer to that question, because if at all, if the primary sources, though it is self sources, are cited and quoted, it should not show that like there is anything which is uncited. See, plagiarism occurs when we have taken something which is uncited and unquoted. So that is not acceptable. Ethics can't be relative ethics. Like 5% can I be dishonest? No. So the idea here is the technicality of that particular 5% can be by these words that we are talking about. So in that context, all numbers, all what you call as scientific axioms need to be cited, quoted, and if it is from a secondary source, we have to attribute to that. So hope that is clear. So it is not the number that is going to matter. It is the research integrity that is in question when we are talking about any publication. So if at all, if you are trying to write something from a group of papers, so it is, you can't even claim that you have put them together and you are the author of it. So unless we are very clear about the concept of plagiarism, percentage and numbers are secondary. They're means to detect rather than the end. Hope I'm clear in that. Any quick questions? Because we do find a lot of people asking multi-centric studies. So there are 10 different investigators from multiple centers. How to decide the publication, who will be the first author, second author. So again, we were just before the presentation, we were just going through the International Journal of Medical Editors guidelines. So it depends. Today, every author has the same responsibility and they have to be accountable for what has been published. So many a times they go in either alphabetical order, or the person who would have been the lead investigator will not be the first but will be in the last. So they have realized that corresponding author and first authors, it is to give some owners in academic parlance, as Dr. Chidambar Murthy mentioned the different guidelines, because there should be some rule and yardstick to differentiate. So that is the reason they are using it as the minimal threshold for using to provide that kind of a recognition. But if you actually take in the parlance of publications, every author has the same responsibility and accountability, and their contribution should be sort of like substantial, as we saw in the IJME guidelines. So in multi-centric studies or any other studies, it is better to decide who will do what, and the authorship has to be decided a priori. This is what we are saying. And interdisciplinary research as well. So there is a pathology, microbiology, and let's say public health, or multiple departments are coming together. Again, here, depending on the objective of where the particular study is being published, you can decide who will be the first author, who will be the second, and usually the corresponding author is the one who would be fielding the responses to the questions of the editors and also subsequent questions that would be arising from letters to editors. So of late, in recent couple of years, we have also seen a trend where there can be more than one corresponding author in mixed domain papers. If there is a genomics study with a clinical implication, then the doctor will be answering as a corresponding author for the clinical part of it, and the basic scientist will be answering for the other part of it. So it's all a matter of the journal's priority preference to have more than one corresponding author, and the level of authorships is sort of like needs to be decided a priori, and this is where the letters of association in multicentric or collaborative studies become extremely important, wherein you know that what role that you have contributed and what would be your take on the IP that would be generated in terms of patents, publications, or any other outputs or outcomes of that particular research. So I think we are coming to the end of the session. If there are any quick questions we can take, otherwise I'll request Akshay to sort of like make the vote of thanks. Dr. Akshay?
Yes, sir.
Please, sir, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of everyone, I'd like to take this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks for today's session. I think everybody agrees that today was also a highly valuable session, as it has been in many of these series of sessions that has been conducted by the Division of Research and Patents since the past 1 year or so. And today's session was on manuscript writing and plagiarism check. The session was initiated with a talk by Shalinoi ma'am, who's our vice principal. She's a constant source. She's a source of constant support and encouragement with regards to research and publication, both to students as well as faculty. Ma'am spoke about the importance of publishing in medical science. I thank ma'am for her talk today. Next, we had a talk by Nanda sir. Nanda Kumar sir is our the head of the Division of Research and Patents, and sir spoke about what are the steps to be taken to prepare for publications. Sir spoke about the different types of research and highlighted about the importance of not just the quantity but also the quality of research, as well as crisply discussed about the different guidelines which are involved, which need to be followed when we seek publish our articles. I thank sir for sir's talk, as well as for clearing and answering the doubts of our participants today. Next talk was by Chidambaramurthy sir. Sir is the principal scientist at the Division of Research and Patents, and sir spoke about what are the measures, or how do we choose the right journals for publishing our articles. And sir discussed about several of the guidelines that need to be looked at, as well as different parameters before we choose the right journal. And sir also gave out a lot of tips, an extensive list of tips that clearly comes from sir's rich experience in publications. I thank sir for sir's talk. Next, we had Dr. Rathe. Ma'am is an assistant professor in the Department of Pharmacology, and ma'am spoke about what are the measures of quality of research publications, and she highlighted a very long list, or several of the indices which are used as parameters to measure the quality of publications. Clearly, ma'am had to summarize her talk from after doing a lot of background research, and that's highlighted by some of the indices like the K index, the Kardashian index, which many of us might not have heard ever before. I thank ma'am for ma'am's talk today. And finally, we had Mr. Raghavendra from the Drillbit software. Sir was kind enough to explain the principles behind the plagiarism check, as well as give us a demonstration of how the Drillbit software works. Many of us have used the Drillbit software, and before we have been able to send out our articles for publication. I thank sir for also not just his talk, but taking the question by our participants as well. And finally, I also would like to thank our principal and dean, Medha ma'am, as well as all the management, for always encouraging us and supporting us in helping to carry out these programs, as well as finally, I have to thank our audience, all our faculty, esteemed faculty, who have stayed in large numbers even till the end. And I really hope today's session was useful to all the faculty who have attended. And at the end, I would also like to reiterate Michael Faraday's words, just as Shalini ma'am had said, that we need to work, finish, and then publish, and that should be the way ahead for us. So, on behalf of everybody, I would like to thank everyone present here.
Yeah, thank you, Akshay, for that. And we'll be sharing the resource material, the IJME guidelines, and some of the materials which would be helpful for it. And Dr. Atai will share the feedback form and the certificates for today's session. So please ensure that you reply back to the feedback form so that we can generate the certificates and help you. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. Have a nice day. Thank you.